Ethan arrived at the courthouse expecting an ending. Instead, he found a reckoning. The hallway smelled of dust and regret, and when he looked up, time seemed to freeze. Lena stood before him, his estranged wife, calm, composed, and 7 months pregnant with a life he never knew existed. If you believe in compassion, hope, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more stories. Let's begin. The courthouse hallway felt colder than Ethan Caldwell expected, as if the building itself had learned how to store regret. The walls smelled of old paper and unfinished endings, and every footstep echoed too loudly for a place meant to close chapters. Ethan arrived early, folder clenched in his hands, rehearsing emotional neutrality. Sign the papers. Exchange a polite nod. Walk away lighter. He told himself this was necessary. Clean endings were easier to survive. Then he saw Lena. She stood near the window, pale winter light outlining her face, one hand resting instinctively against her belly. 7 months pregnant. The realization struck him with physical force, draining the air from his lungs. His thoughts raced, counting months, replaying conversations, searching for something that would soften the shock. He hadn't known. Hadn't asked. Hadn't imagined her life continuing beyond the narrow version he allowed himself to see. Their marriage hadn't ended in betrayal or shouting. It had thinned quietly, late nights, postponed conversations, affection delayed until it faded into habit. They had loved each other once, deeply, but exhaustion replaced curiosity, and silence replaced care. Standing there, Ethan understood that the ending he prepared for no longer belonged to him. After the separation, life shaped them in opposite ways. Lena's world became smaller, but stronger. Fear arrived first, sharp and immediate, followed by resolve. When she learned she was pregnant, panic passed quickly, replaced by clarity. She cried once, alone, then wiped her face and began planning. She chose forward. The child became her reason to endure, not her excuse to blame the past. She rebuilt quietly, new routines, careful budgeting, doctor appointments she attended alone, long evenings learning how to sit with uncertainty instead of fighting it. She learned how to be steady when no one was watching. She didn't ask Ethan for explanations or apologies. Strength, she learned, didn't need witnesses to exist. Ethan, meanwhile, remained suspended. He filled his days with work, schedules, and rational conclusions. He told himself distance was maturity. That silence was peace. He believed that providing stability meant sacrificing presence. But seeing Lena pregnant dismantled that belief. What he once called dignity revealed itself as avoidance. What he called stability had been emotional absence disguised as responsibility. The weeks after the courthouse meeting unsettled Ethan in ways he could no longer ignore. He noticed details he once dismissed, the careful way Lena moved, the fatigue she carried without complaint, the patience shaped by necessity rather than choice. He imagined the nights she faced fear alone, measuring each decision without support, and the realization pressed heavily on him. For the first time, he stopped defending his past and began examining it honestly. Instead of explanations, he chose effort. He asked how to help and accepted silence when that was the answer. He showed up without expectation. He listened without interrupting or correcting. He learned how difficult it was to stay present without trying to regain control. Change didn't arrive dramatically. It arrived through repetition. Through showing up on time. Through respecting distance. Through staying even when discomfort tempted him to leave. Lena didn't trust him quickly, nor did she pretend to. But she noticed something shift. Growth didn't ask to be believed. It proved itself slowly, through restraint, accountability, and consistency that asked for nothing in return. As the pregnancy entered its final weeks, the divorce papers still waited, untouched but heavy. The past hadn't softened, and neither of them pretended it had. Some wounds were still tender. Some memories still sharp. There were moments when anger resurfaced, moments when grief felt louder than hope. Yet they were no longer the same people who had failed each other before. Time, reflection, and effort had changed them in quiet ways that didn't demand recognition. Ethan understood now that love wasn't proven by intention, but by responsibility. That presence required courage, not control. That staying meant accepting uncertainty without demanding reassurance. Lena came to understand something equally difficult, that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting pain. It meant refusing to let it dictate the rest of her life. Standing at that crossroads, neither promised reconciliation. What they offered instead was honesty. And for the first time, honesty felt stronger than hope built on denial. When the child was born, the moment carried no grand declarations. It was quiet, fragile, and heavy with meaning. No certainty. No guarantees. Only a new life and the weight of everything it represented. The room was still, filled with breaths and careful movements, as if everyone understood that something delicate had arrived. Ethan stood humbled, aware that second chances are never guaranteed, only earned through change that lasts beyond words. Lena looked forward without erasing the past, carrying both strength and caution with her. She knew trust could grow again, but only if nurtured slowly. The story does not promise reunion. It offers something truer. Sometimes love does not return to what it was. Sometimes it grows wiser, slower, and more accountable. And sometimes the bravest ending becomes a beginning, not because everything is healed, but because the heart has finally learned how to grow. Thanks for being here. Like and subscribe to keep more unforgettable stories coming.